Let me just say that as a Christian, as a Hispanic, as a second generation American, that I'm very disappointed what I'm seeing in the US in terms of how Christians are being treated. The only group besides the Jewish people who that's a different subject, but it's still terrible what's happening to them. The only group of people who are really getting the brunt of any sort of hate crimes is the Christian community. And that's ridiculous. That's totally not fair, especially considering that in Islam, they literally had slaves and nothing's happening to any mosque. And I don't want anything to happen to any mosque, and I don't want anything to happen to any religious groups. That's not the point of this video. I just want to point out the fact that it is completely wrong that only one group is being, like, across the board, like, brutalized because you just happen to disagree with them and because no one is going to step up for them. And that's insane. In California, you're not allowed to sing in church, but you are allowed to go out and protest. That's crazy. And let me just say this to people in California. If you're a Christian, then why not just sing in church? If they put you in jail, which I know you don't want that to happen, then you're literally showing the whole world that you are literally getting religious persecution. And you shouldn't be afraid of that. Not in terms of just doing things to purposely be disrespectful, but my question is your faith, is your Christian belief subservient to your fear of elected officials who are going to put you in jail for a little bit of time? That's ridiculous. And the other thing too is we're having churches burned, vandalized, and other things happening to the Christian community, and no one's actually speaking up about it. If there are supposedly so many Christians in the world, why are so few of them actually speaking up? In the Bible, it talks about how Christians are going to be persecuted. And this is an example of persecution that's happening and no one's speaking up. And what's even more frustrating is that there are countries where Christians are getting way more persecuted than they're getting persecuted in the West, but it doesn't make the news. And not just Christians, but I'm going to use China as well with the Muslims that they have in concentration camps. People aren't frustrated by that because they care more about making money than they do about people's lives. Because I guess we're so desensitized to the value of life that as long as it doesn't affect your immediate well-being, it doesn't matter. That's wrong. I don't think people understand the value of life, of every life, regardless of religion. And we're literally just sitting by doing nothing when we could be trying to save lives. That's ridiculous. If we claim to be so just and so worried about human rights, we should be worried about everyone's rights. Christians in the West, minority religions in the East, and by minority I'm talking about Christians and any other people who aren't of Eastern beliefs, like you see what's happening in China. But no, we're just here whining as privileged first world people about being less rich than some rich person in this country, or we're complaining about police brutality about one skin color but not other skin colors. Because again, I'm Hispanic, and there's been plenty of history of Hispanics getting brutalized by the police. And we had that one army person in Texas who she was found murdered, and there's no outcry outside of a few people here in Texas. This is ridiculous, and people need to step up, and that includes me. We need to stand up. We need to stand for what we believe in, because there are people who are willing to stand up on the other side, and we're not. In the Bible, there was the story of the man who was told to follow Jesus, but in order to do so, he would have to leave all his riches behind, and he turned away because it says that he had so many possessions. Are the people that are acting in a similar fashion to that man who wouldn't follow Jesus because he wanted things to be okay? He wanted to be comforted in this life. And that's the wrong place to have your concerns. In the Bible, it also talks about the man who built up riches and then he was told he was going to die. And then all of that was for nothing. Life is temporary, and we are just a blip in history, the time that we spent on earth. And right now, how can we say that we're being Christians if we are not willing to stand up and deal with whatever is going to happen to us?